for video games. And these are just 10 I picked out. However, there's been just so much in the trash this year. I'm gonna lay down a few ground rules before I get to 10. First rule, no easy targets like no movie tie-ins or children's titles. So you got lucky, Ghostbusters. And also no Steam Early Access. However, so sit back and relax as we dig through the garbage that has been thrown out this year, because these are the top 10 worst video games of 2016. Okay, I'll admit I'm a huge RPG fan and the concept looks good. But I realized how annoying and boring this isometric shoot-'em-up is. Bombshell is a seriously bugged PC game that 3D Realms spat out to serve as a prequel to the dreaded Duke Nukem Forever that everyone knows took fucking forever.
Keycard? I don't need no fucking keycard.
First off, this shooter consists of you mashing your sticks together so much that it wears down on your thumbs real fast. Most of the game consists of shooting up hordes of enemies in beautiful environments as you listen to terrible jokes along the way. The developers look like they wanted to show more of their CAD projects in the game than actually making it fun. And the design of the main heroine in skimpy outfits and such a butch haircut in a game called Bombshell is downright insensitive. Just let that image sink in.
You didn't stand a chance.
Mobile games get a bad rap, and just because said game went viral doesn't make it immune to suckage. And this one is Pokemon Go. Yes, I know there are really good mobile games out there, but this definitely isn't one of them. It's just a quick cash grab on the augmented reality bandwagon and people who love the Pokemon games. Catching Pokemon in the real world may seem fun at first, but it gets boring real quick when you soon find out that there are no Pokemon in your area. This has caused some people to trespass on private property and dangerous areas. It has even become such a nuisance that many schools and businesses had banned the app. It even forced the country of Brazil to block access to it in order to carry on with the Olympics. It was that distracting people. Also, typical of mobile games is that it heavily relies on in-game microtransactions. And then interest dropped off the face of the earth. What a waste. Oh boy, seeing this as a Hitman knockoff is bound to be on this list. Not just because it's a copycat, but a very dated and boring stealth game. Yeah, worse than No One Lives Forever. I don't mind the Cold War setting, but it's been used several times in so many games at this point. There's just too many mechanics that are unnecessary. Like, why is there RPG elements into it when there's very broken and mundane combat? And why is the target lock-on mechanic so broken when you're trying to shoot enemies? Let's not forget the brain-dead enemy AI makes stealth completely pointless like half the time. When you're standing 3 feet in front of an enemy, they'll just stare at you and walk right into you like blind retards, or just get lost and forget about you as soon as you leave their sight. The levels just look empty and plain with no appeal. There are several bugs where you clip right through objects and even the world map, including riding an invisible elevator. Wow.
You faster and stronger and make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night.
Act like you didn't see this one coming. I know this was a Kickstarter project created by one of the main guys behind Mega Man, but look closer. In this 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up looks nothing more like a cheap bootleg with terrible level design that will get you killed over and over and over again. It just doesn't help with the low-resolution graphics that make it difficult to see what you're doing at all times. I mean, the combat is mundane and repetitive that will get you bored really fast. The story's stupid, the voice acting eats too, making the characters so unlikable and just so obnoxious. But the cherry on the cake is the fact that the Wii U versions of this game were so defective that there were cases of the games lighting consoles on fire. So much for crowdfunding. Will there now be crowdfunding to replace the damaged consoles that this game has caused?
I point and...
Just look at it. Look at how ugly this and broken this piece of shit is. Okay, the first Homefront was a mediocre game with a bit of controversy, so why was a sequel needed? The characters are cliché stereotypes, poorly voice acted, and the story just looks like it took some inspiration of Kimulator with some Team America slapped on it. This mess has a flawed combat, awkward controls, and very stupid AI. Many of the character models are slow, low-textured, and often disappear or get stuck in a basic T-pose. There are many glitches where enemies won't spawn or just spawn at your last checkpoint with your gun holster. So you're now out in the open, completely surrounded by enemies, just hoping for the best. Sure, it had a nice open world and weapons to customize, but the overall presentation is just so fucked up. Please. We don't need any more Homefronts. Turning this into a series has failed, and it's time to move on. Jump Pics Jump. What can I say? It's a Bubsy 3D clone where you run around in a barren world as a giant furry. Next.
Countless monsters, moronic puzzles, fantasy-haired idiots with giant swords, obscure references no one ever gets, and situations that are on the verge of being a flagrant violation of copyright law.
When something is old school, it's enjoyable to go back for a nostalgia high because of all the fond memories you had with a particular game or genre. Outdated, however, is such a jarring experience that you never want to go back to. Zenith falls in the latter category. By playing this game, you feel like you're playing a poor man's version of Diablo optimized for the original PlayStation. It doesn't work or look good when running on current software. The poor graphics and frame rate are just the start. It's obviously trying to be a parody that fails to be funny with a cut and paste cliche JRPG storyline. I found myself cringing as I was bombarded with references. It's like Seltzer and Freeberg got together and made this garbage instead of cheap parody movies. As you'd expect, the combat is repetitive and annoying as the enemy AI is just so blatantly dumb that your best strategy is just clicking a button until you win. The game is sort of like an experiment some kid would make while playing around in RPG Maker, but instead, it's put out there as a professional product. Why? Oh my god! What were you thinking, Capcom? Do they really need to cash in on the popularity of Call of Duty? Well, it seems to be the answer because it was obviously rushed out to market and ignored. This co-op zombie shooter has you play as a soldier from the Umbrella Corporation of the Resident Evil series, and it has a laundry list of issues. First off, the single-player campaign has some of the most generic zombie survival story you could imagine, which includes a lack of proofreading and consistent enemy AI. Not to mention, this is supposed to be a cover-based shooter when zombies are totally unarmed. So the only real danger is if they ever get close to you and bitch slap you with cheap one-hit kills. Also, killing enemies just dissolves them into a pile of meat that has just gone through a wood chipper. Most of the game consists of you running through a maze in such an awkward pose. Seriously, who holds a gun like this while running like they have a yardstick up their ass? But don't worry, you can unlock bright new colors for your character's outfit and gun! Isn't that nice? By the way, the online servers for this game were cleared out within a month of this game's release. Good luck to you finding someone to play with now, because it's not gonna happen! Just stay away! It's that bad! The God chain is really, really bad. The God chain is really, really bad. The God chain is really, really bad, and I just want to die. Hey! I've heard a lot of bad things about this game, but not until I finally dug my hands into it. It's this bad. To start off, you'll open up in a game that looks like it came out in 2004 instead of a few months ago, along with terrible cutscenes and subtitles that are impossible to read, and voice acting that is impossible to understand. I swear to God that all the characters are voiced by Tommy Wiseau from The Room.
Okay, soldier, get ready for a mission. Yes, sir.
And then you'll find out that it's so unpolished and unfinished. Like, it's missing several basic essentials like sound effects and audio mixing, complete with dumb enemy AI or inconvenient spawning points. See that? I was shot dead right at the start! The game spawned me right in front of a mob of aliens in the first level! Also, the aliens won't shoot you if you keep your distance, and they just explode into a puff of green smoke when you kill them. And they have no walk cycle animation. They move like they're riding on roller skates. You'll keep wandering a poorly rendered level aimlessly with no objectives until the game either crashes or your character passes out for no real reason. With the coding like this, it's probably impossible to complete. So the only way out of this nightmare is to hope your character just dies. And maybe, just maybe, it'll work. And the worst game of the year is the developer Digital Homicide and all of their games. The notorious indie developers Digital Homicide has made its mark in the industry for the third year in a row. And it has gotten a lot worse. Aside from spamming Steam with recycled substandard games, they're at the top of the list for doing something unprecedented. They have decided to get medieval on our asses with the legal system by suing YouTube giant Jim Sterling and eventually 100 anonymous Steam users for bashing their shit games. Only a handful of which were revealed in court documents, with their usernames being listed as Jane and John Doe's. But the target users were mainly just enraged Steam users who led groups on forums, or just minor YouTube critics like myself. After failing to sue Jim Sterling, they have littered 40 games on Greenlight, which include Reginald's Nightly Duties, The Clickerton Gang, Sharktastic Yum Yums, A Fight in the Garden, One Ball to Win, and The Crazy Adventures of Who Flung Dung. And surprise, surprise! They looked like packages of red raw bleeding anuses. This also includes several reskins of Space Invaders, with so-called sequels cut and pasted only with different backgrounds or enemies. And these consisted of 3 Merle Wizard Extraordinaires, 2 Assault on Zarters, 4 Barnacle Explorer Submarines, 3 Sinister Spiders, 4 Sarah to the Rescues, 4 Daisy Sweet Time Cupcake Manias, 5 Mike the Astronauts, 2 Pete's Pumpkin Apocalypses, and Not in My Crapper. They spanned these games onto Greenlight until they were marked incompatible with Greenlight. For those of you who don't know, Greenlight is Valve's half-assed method of giving Steam quality control, which fails every time. You would be better off finding these as Flash games on Newgrounds 15 years ago. As a result, Valve has finally stepped into this online tantrum and removed all of Digital Homicide's games from the Steam store and Greenlight. Before they were finally banned, they have released a staggering 13 games in less than a year. That's right, 13 games. Can you believe that? This also includes some of their reskins of Space Invaders, including quote-unquote sequels. Hell, the Wyatt Earp and Withering Kingdom games are just reskins of Prog Wars, with the spaceships replaced with cowboys and wizards respectively, both of which had sequels that were mere copies of each other. In the case of the Wyatt Earps, the only difference was a different camera angle. I shit you not! Look at Wyatt Earp 2. These are all the same assets in Wyatt Earp 1. They didn't even bother to come up with something new when they flipped the fucking cameras on either of these piece of fucking games. Don't let me get started on Paranormal Psychosis, where they have non-existent textures, poor lighting, unresponsive controls, scrolls, bugs, and look at the AI of the enemies and NPCs. How do I rank these games as the absolute worst of the year? Well, I'll have to rank them based on how much money and time you gave to them. And number 1.1, the absolute worst game of 2016, is Paranormal Psychosis. Out of all the games released by year, this is undoubtedly the worst of the worst. Fortunately, it is no longer available for purchase. Now you're thinking whether the hilarity of these awful games will resurface by another one of DigiHom's sock puppet users on itch.io.com. I'd say it's unlikely. Just let them all drop off the face of the earth out of existence. Trust me, it's better this way. So there you have it. It's been a whole lot easier to think of a really bad title this year. However, on the bright side, there are some really good ones. So stay tuned until next time as we see the best games of 2016. This is Marlyonama signing off. Thanks for watching. I really hope you liked this video. If you want to check out more from Marlyonama, please hit the subscribe button below or go to my website at www.marlyomedia.com. And if you really like the content, be sure to support me on Patreon or follow me on Twitch TV. And as always, sign on.